Hey friends, Scott Smith at the Smith team at Keller Williams. Wanted to share with you some insights that we are encountering now in today's real estate market, and that relates to negotiating. I've got 7 different lessons that I've learned over 30 years in negotiating transactions for our clients, and some of the do's and don'ts that will help make the negotiations go smoother. The 4 basic fundamentals when we're negotiating a real estate transaction are price, timing, terms, and then any contingencies. So those 4 basic things apply. But I want to share with you more of I guess it'd be a philosophical lessons that we've learned over time. So the first thing I wanted to share with you is making sure you understand all parties and what their motivation is and what their why is. And why are they buying a home? Why are they selling a home? What is their hot point for liking that property or wanting to sell that property? So making sure you have a good understanding and a mutual agreement on that. So don't just assume that there's a reason why they need to sell, because without clarifying and confirming that on their part. So as you're entering a negotiation, it's important just to remind them why we are at the table, why we're negotiating, why we have a sign in the yard to move them forward. The second thing I wanted to share with you is the perspectives and the priorities. It kind of relates to that why, but it also goes back to making sure that you have a good understanding of who's sitting across from you, whether it's a buyer or a seller or another agent, and making sure that you have a good perspective of what their position is, what their hot points are. It could be any of those 4 things I mentioned, whether it be the price, timing, terms, or any contingencies, to make sure that you've got a good handle on that and what their priorities are. Maybe the timing is more important to them than the price, because I've had many transactions where you think that the price is going to be the ultimate determining factor, and it definitely is not. The other factors can be as important, if not even more important, when you're negotiating. The third thing I want to share with you is the emotion. And when you're negotiating on a home purchase or a home sale, there's definitely a lot more emotions involved than if you were buying a car or negotiating some other type of transaction. But the emotions can certainly play a big role in it. But you have to bring people back to the why and use those emotions to understand what we need to do to move forward. So there might be some hard feelings. I've had more and more transactions that have blown up over just the way someone had sent a text message or responded to a voicemail maybe that was inaccurate. So want to make sure that you have to understanding the emotions that are involved with that negotiation, and making sure that we're looking at it just from a purely being able to move forward. What is the next step, and get people buying into that. The fourth goal I want to share with you is the goal is not to beat the competition, is to make sure that we have a compromise with that. There's an old adage that says the best negotiations are one when everyone walks away and they don't feel like they've won. So a win-win negotiation has a lot of compromise in it, give and take back and forth, but it's not the objective where it's not beating the next person out or whoever's on the side of the table. It's certainly a compromise. And again, taking the emotion out of it, there are people that get very, very competitive in a negotiation situation, and their goal is to beat or to not lose. And it's more of how can we put together a package where we can compromise on all those different fronts, because someone might have an advantage or an upper hand on one thing, but they might be able to willing to more compromise on something else. So those are the very important things. Then the fifth thing I want to share with you is when it comes time to being flexible on the small things. I've had more and more transactions that people get caught up with a washer and dryer. They're emotionally attached to their washer and dryer, their new appliances. They want to make sure that that comes with them. Plants in the yard are some of those things. Making sure before you even get into a negotiation that you understand, is there anything else important in this transaction that we need to understand before we even put a home on the market or before we make an offer on that property? Because there might be something that comes up after the fact that could end up blowing up the transaction. So being flexible on those small things is very, very important. Sometimes you can give a buyer or a seller or whoever's on the other side something that's small that's important to them, that's a win, and it's not important to you, and that helps make the transaction moving forward that much easier. So that is number 5. Number 6 is when you're negotiating, having options. So one of the strategies that we use when we're negotiating, we might throw a counteroffer back to either a buyer or a seller and give them option A or option B. And giving them those options makes it easier to not say no in that negotiation. They might not reject it because there's an option that might be a better fit. It kind of keeps the negotiations moving forward, or the ball in the air, if you will. The 7th thing I wanted to share with you is a great lesson that my mom had shared with me when I first got into real estate, and that was time is sometimes the best negotiator. A lot of times those negotiations feel like they're happening in a microwave rather than a crock pot, if you can imagine what that metaphor is like. So we're sometimes quick to respond with a quick text message or a phone call or an email that would maybe, if we slow down a little bit and maybe just kind of let the emotions and the transaction kind of pan out, maybe it's over an hour or two, so we can kind of continue to settle the pace with it. So sometimes time is the best negotiator is one of those phrases I use when I'm consulting our clients all the time. So there you go. I've got 7 tips for you when it comes to more philosophy for negotiating. Whether you're negotiating with a family member on something, what's for dinner, where to go on the next trip, or if you're negotiating on a real estate transaction, hopefully those will come in handy for you in your negotiation. If you found this information helpful, certainly like it, subscribe to us, whatever social channel you're watching it on. We'd like to provide you with good content every week. If you've got another negotiating strategy, certainly throw it in the chat. We'd be happy to have a conversation around it. If you know of anyone that's looking to buy, sell, or make a move in real estate, reach out to us, 651-777-3434, or you can send us a direct message. We'd be happy to help make your move that much easier and guide you along the negotiations. Take care. Have a great day.